3477.
With the power of Tandem HR, you are in the fast lane on Main Street with Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business and jobs. Now, the champion of networking, the advocate of jobs, the guru of business, your host, Shalom Klein.
Hey, we are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. In business, we talk a lot about business here. You are on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you're there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. We are powered by our good friends at Tandem HR, your solution center. Check them out online, tandemhr.com, or give them a call, 630-928-0510. So we've got a jam-packed lineup of guests. I don't want to wait around for it because we've got some great guests here in studio, as well as some guests calling in. Lots of great conversations. First up on the program is my good friend Justin Breen, who really has an epic story to tell about his adventures in entrepreneurship, and he's working with some very interesting clients through his new firm. Justin Breen, welcome to the program.
Shalom, how are you?
I can't say that's the first time I've heard that, but I am fantastic. It's always a joy to have interesting entrepreneurs on the program. Justin, before we talk about what you do, I want to talk about your story. Tell us a little bit about your adventure. Those are the words that Robert Feeder, the fantastic media blogger, said, is that Justin Breen leaves DNA Info for a new adventure. What is that adventure all about?
Yeah, so I started my own PR firm, BrEPIC Communications, LLC, incorporated April 16th. The Feeder article came out in early June, and it's been full steam ahead since. Signed the Allstate Foundation to a really great deal, and have just been working with some amazing clients. And it's been so exciting seeing the world on this side of things as opposed to mainstream media.
BrEPIC Communications, and you really are doing an epic job at helping small business owners tell their story, because we know that from this program, we know that so many business owners struggle with how to articulate what they do. They do their job so well, but they have trouble articulating it. So the Allstate Foundation is a fantastic example of a bigger business that you're working with, organization. Tell us a little bit about the specifics of what you do to tell their story.
So it's really interesting, and what I do with the Allstate Foundation is similar to what I'm doing with other clients, is basically they have a need to get their stories out. And a lot of companies, whether it's a giant like Allstate or if it's a small business, they don't have the bandwidth to find really interesting, compelling stories. And if they do have that, then they don't have the media context that I have. So what I do is I create really interesting stories, and then I'm able to market that to my sources throughout the country. So it's been really interesting to see it work with big places like Allstate, but smaller restaurants, law firms, education companies. It doesn't really matter. As long as there's a good story to tell, it works.
Justin, how does your background as a former editor, how does that help you in your new journey as a PR man?
Really good question. So, and a lot of people have asked me that. My job almost has not changed at all, with the exception of there's a little bit of client information put into each story. So when I was at DNA, I was the third person hired there. And so we took that startup mentality to build to DNA Info in Chicago to an amazing organization. And so while I was there, I would write stories, and then I would actually, after they were published, and usually they were exclusives and or broke the story first, I would share those stories, pitch them to other media, not knowing that I was going to actually have a PR firm. But I didn't care sending it out to other media sources, because I thought, hey, it would be a good way to get DNA Info on TV, on the radio, wherever, sourced in the Chicago Tribune. So basically, that's what I've done now, and doing it well.
So as an editor, it's all about the headlines, right? It's all about coming up with a catchy story. And so that's what you're doing now on your website. And of course, we'll be sure to share contact information for the epic and great Justin Breen, so people can learn a little bit about how they can work with you. But one of the things that you say is that you help business brands craft clicky stories. So I want to pick your brain for a moment. Let's talk about what do you see businesses doing that just isn't working? We're all on Facebook. We're all over the place. We're inundated with information. Yep. What do you see the good guys do that others are not?
So the biggest mistake that businesses are making is, especially from a media campaign, is sending out press releases. I can say from my end, when I was a journalist, you would get 200 to 300 of these emails a day, and basically it's just delete, 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 delete. And so that's what the biggest mistake is. So instead of that, what I've done is I've said, okay, let's write an actual story where it can appear on your website and then individually market to people that you have a relationship with. So it's not just a mass email that from my end, like I said, I would just delete it. And that's a major mistake that businesses are making.
Interesting. So spotlight another client of yours. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that really gets you going. You're an entrepreneur like the rest of us. You're getting up every day and you're pounding the pavement.
Yep.
What energizes you and keeps you in this world of entrepreneurship?
Well, I'll tell you, the motivation is I have a wonderful wife and a 4-year-old and 3-year-old, both boys. So that's my motivation. And believe me, I'm not kidding about that. So my motivation is for them to have a good life. And, I take that into every day, every time I wake up. But in terms of business-wise, I just really like doing this. I mean, it's really exciting. If you get 19 no's from people, but the 20th company is a yes, that's super exciting. And entrepreneurship, there are a lot of highs, there are a lot of lows. You got to stay focused on the task at hand. And really, with this company, it's been amazing because it actually works what I'm doing. So you have a plan, you say, okay, this is what you're going to tell people, and this is how it's going to work. And then it actually does happen, where you see your clients in the Chicago Tribune or the Sun-Times or on Patch or in DNA Info New York or, wherever it is around the country. It's just been really awesome to have that success be proven, and it's been awesome.
Fascinating. So you enjoy that gratification in a way of being in a small business in a way that perhaps in a larger organization, it took a little bit longer. You're part of a larger system, which is interesting. And I know, of course, on your website, you profile a lot of different businesses. You call them partners, which I love that term. Justin, you just mentioned your wife and your family, and I know that they've been incredibly supportive of the work that you've been doing. And indeed, they call it building a business for a reason. It is hard work. What is something about being in business that you that you didn't expect?
Wow. Just one thing?
Just one thing.
Every single day I learn something new. Honestly, I'm not kidding. But, it's every day is a hustle. I mean, honestly, that's something I didn't necessarily expect, is that if you're going to do well in this type of thing, you really can't take a day off. And, I think the folks who are really close to me, they're starting to understand that, listen, like, this is a 24/7 type of thing. And yes, there might be days where you work 3 or 4 hours, but there are going to be days where you're working 12, 14 hours. And really, you just can't. I mean, I was like this at DNA Info, too. I really didn't take days off there. But on this side of things, you really just have to think constantly about how you're going to build your brand, how you're going to help your clients, and things like that.
Interesting. So, Justin, I know that you're not exclusively focused on, for example, social media or blogging. Right. You really, what BrEPIC Communications has done is really utilizing every platform that can be beneficial to businesses and to clients. But if you don't mind, share for some of our entrepreneurs one of the most underutilized or what you might view as a developing platform that if business owners are not utilizing yet, that you would recommend that they get on.
Well, for sure, they need to find stories that are clicky. So I did mention the press release thing, but what a lot of these folks, businesses or the PR firms that even work for the businesses, they think something great happened at the company is a great story. But honestly, for the most part, the general public doesn't care about that. So what you have to find is a really compelling story inside the company or someone who works at the company or someone who's helped the company, and then tie in that interesting information about the company into the story, and then you can get that information out there. But so the people have to think outside the box in terms of, oh, it's great for our company, but does the general public really care about it? And for the most part, most of the time, the general public does not care. So you have to kind of work your way into that.
Fascinating advice, information on marketing, on press releases, on getting, as you said, the clicky stories out there, because every business does have those clicky stories. They just often don't know how to tell that story. So finally, before we share your contact information, Justin, a serious question. Are you drinking more coffee now than you were before?
I am. That is a good, a very good question. I just got my Starbucks Gold Card in the mail a couple days ago, and that was my official stamp of approval that I'm a small business owner.
Absolutely. Business cards don't mean anything. It's the Starbucks Gold Card. So Justin Breen of BrEPIC Communications, we appreciate the advice, information, and certainly we'll have your clients on to share their story. Really, really interesting. Justin, how can our listeners get a hold of you if they want to learn more?
Well, sure. You can go to my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/BrEPIC. That's BREPIC. Or you can go to my main website, which is BrEPICLLC.com.
Fantastic. And we've got about 15 seconds remaining. Where's the title or the name of the business from?
So my last name is Breen, and epic is the most overused word in my vocabulary. So it's basically my way of really using that word as much as possible.
I think when you get on Justin's Facebook page, I think you'll see that word quite a bit. Justin Breen of BrEPIC Communications, we appreciate your time on the program. Coming up after the break, we've got James McCormick talking to us more advice and information on small business.